Welcome to Functional Philosophy, the show in which I, Charles II, explain and apply Ayn Rand's philosophy, objectivism. If you'd like to ask me a question on objectivism or its application, just go to charles2.com/contact. And my last name is spelled T as in tango, E as in echo, and W as in whiskey. Can you logically describe what Plato meant by the world of forms? I understand that he was wrong, but what exactly was he talking about? I think I understand it in the context of a religious leader claiming to have revelation from God, but beyond that example, I don't comprehend the concept. How would someone describe the world of forms outside of religion? The simplest way to describe the world of forms is as another dimension, metaphysically fundamental, and occupied by concepts. So in this physical world, there are many tables, and they all have different characteristics. They're different sizes, colors, etc. And they decay. You can chop them up with an axe, they can be destroyed, they change. But the concept of table, in the world of forms, the form of table, is different. It is single and unchanging, and metaphysically primary. An analogy would be that just as a white light shown through a prism is separated out into all of the different colors through refraction, so the form of table is refracted into all of the different physical tables in our world, but they're all just really a part of the one true table. Now, if you're still confused and you don't know exactly what Plato meant, you don't understand what he was referring to in reality, well, this is as far as you can go, because he wasn't referring to anything in reality, because the world of forms isn't real. So what does it mean for there to be a world of forms? It doesn't mean anything. At least not anything beyond what Plato claimed about it, because it doesn't have any existence beyond Plato's claim. So it's not like somebody can talk about botany and then you can go study the actual plants, because they're real and they exist. With the world of forms, there's nothing to go check out. All you have is what Plato claimed. Now, it's important to understand that the world of forms is not merely an immaterial dimension. It's not immateriality that's essential here. It's that this is a realm of consciousness, not just the immaterial. This is a realm where concepts exist, not something immaterial like energy. That has no place here. This is a primacy of consciousness metaphysics. The theory of forms used to be called the theory of ideas, because the Greek word Plato used for forms is related to, although not identical to, the modern English word idea, but the point is that it's related to content of consciousness. That's what's important. The physical world is a derivative, it's a shadow, but your mind is directly connected to this other world. And in reality, to the extent the world of forms has any referent, it is concepts in people's minds. Because there are no forms, there are only concepts. And concepts refer to things in the physical world, not forms. Additionally, Plato thought this is where our consciousness resided before our birth into the physical world. So the world of forms is all about consciousness. It's about concepts, it's where our consciousness resided, it's what our consciousness, even while we exist in the physical world, is connected to. And so it's a mistake to think of the world of forms as just an immaterial dimension where these other kinds of things exist. No, that's not the point. The point is that this is a metaphysically primary world of consciousness. What are the factual conditions for freedom? Do they involve a degree of inhibition of those natural and artificial monopolies and monopsonies that are in place not as a matter of merit, but as a matter of privatized, concentrated rental income and power from land property, credit, or luck? No. To translate this question into non-idiot speak, he is asking, doesn't freedom require that the government correct for people who make money by owning land or on interest or just through luck? And the answer is no. So let's take these in order. Ownership of land is no inhibition to anyone's freedom, so long as that person legitimately owns it. If somebody owns a piece of land and he's built an apartment complex there and he charges people to live there, he has reorganized nature to human benefit. And so he's not rent-seeking, quote unquote. Now, if he just owns a piece of land and refuses to let anybody pass by it and he hasn't done anything to improve the land, well, then that's not legitimate ownership. But that's obviously not all you're referring to. Guess what? Landlords do work. It takes work, even just to keep up an apartment complex. And so nobody has the right to come in and say, you shouldn't be able to own land. The government is taking this in order to promote freedom. That is the opposite of freedom. Now you might say, well, there's only a finite amount of land. So maybe I have a better idea for how to use this land productively. Why does he get to use it? Well, because he was there first. What's the alternative? We're going to have some government committee accept proposals on the best use of all material wealth and then redistribute it in accordance with that committee's judgment? That's totalitarianism. No, that's like saying, I could have invested that guy's money better than he did, so the government should really come in and take his money and give it to me. No, property derives from reorganizing nature to human benefit, which is primarily, first of all, an intellectual process. But then you have to manifest your idea in reality, and then you have property. And it doesn't matter after that if somebody has a better idea than you do. You have, in fact, manifested your idea and he hasn't, so the property is yours. Now, if you really do have a better idea about how to make use of that property, that's the brilliance of capitalism. You can buy it from him and make money off your idea, and you should be willing to put up the money if your idea is so good because you'll make money off of it. So the investment's worth it. Now you might say, but I don't have the money. Well, again, capitalism to the rescue. You go to somebody who does have money, tell him your great idea, and then he'll put up the money, and you implement your idea, and you both make money. Well, now you say, well, how do I know that somebody will go along with my idea? Well, you don't know. It's possible to make mistakes or bad decisions. But again, this is the great thing about capitalism. Capitalism rewards people who make good decisions. So the people with a lot of money tend to be the people who've made good decisions. Now, that's not always true. Sometimes people get lucky. Sometimes people inherit wealth. Sometimes people who did make good decisions later make bad ones. But the point is, the system will always be tending toward rewarding good decision-making. Economic power will always be flowing toward the most rational people. And so there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee in anything, in any system, except for poverty and death in non-capitalist systems, but there's no guarantee of anything good. What you can do is make good possible and reward it, and that's what capitalism does. So if somebody owns land and you have a better idea, there's a good chance you'll be able to convince somebody to put up the money to take over that land for better use. So land ownership isn't a problem. And in any case, there's more land than people are using anyway. Government control of land isn't the solution, it's the problem. To the extent there is a land shortage, it's because the government controls it and won't let people develop it. So there's your government management of land. Now, as for making money off of interest, again, managing investments is a productive activity just like being a landlord is. If you want to maximize your return on your investment, you have to invest in the right places. And in the worst case scenario, if you're truly negligent, you'll lose all your wealth because you'll invest it in places that lose all their money. So there's no such thing as just, oh, you have static wealth. Well, guess what? Having a bunch of wealth and investing it and earning interest on it, that's work. And it's productive work. Funny how all these people want government planners because we can't be trusted to make our own decisions. But then the people who actually plan, quote unquote, who allocate resources In a free society, the financiers and bankers, they're called paper shufflers. Oh, they don't do anything. Oh, but we also need government planners, and they're not paper shufflers. No, figuring out where and how to invest is productive work. And you get rewarded, under capitalism, according to how productive your investments were. And in the worst case scenario, you'll lose all your money. Now, of course, as the government controls more and more, this becomes less true. Now with FDIC, people just put their money anywhere because the government insures them. Who cares what bank I put it into? The government will pay me back even if the bank goes bad, so I don't care how irrational or irresponsible or dumb the bank is. So yes, today there is a degree of I can just make static income without having to think about it, but that's because of government intervention. And now lastly, luck. This is the least plausible of all. What does somebody else's good luck do to inhibit your freedom? What if my next door neighbor found a diamond worth $1 billion buried in his front yard? He had $1 billion worth of luck. What does that do to inhibit me? Nothing. I am a musician who's been trying to write his own music for about 2 years now. The music comes to me easily, and I can consistently identify and implement good riffs and composition. However, I always struggle with coming up with a message, a lyrical theme, or even a mood or emotion for the piece. A problem compounded by the fact that most of the time I start writing the music without wanting to express anything. I just love writing something that sounds good. I have tried the alternative, but to no avail. Either the lyrics feel forced or the music that surrounds them does. I am asking you for advice because even though you are not a musician, to my knowledge, I have a sneaking suspicion that the root of my problem is philosophical, and I was hoping you could identify it and give me some advice on solving it. Well, you're right, I'm not a musician. I think in this case it would be helpful if I were, but I can give you some advice. Now, you say you struggle to come up with a lyrical theme for your music, and all you know is that the music sounds good. Well, I'm not sure this will solve your problem, but it's at least something that's necessary to do. You have to get deeper than that. You cannot justify your music on the grounds that it sounds good. That is subjective. Now, when you are writing the music, when you're producing the music, yes, you go from your subconscious, you let your emotions flow, and you just go with it. But after that, when you're looking at it, now your conscious mind has to judge. And when your conscious mind comes in to judge, that the music just sounds good doesn't cut it. You have to know what the music means. And I'm sure you can. You can at the very least say this is happy, this is sad, upbeat, whatever. You can at least make those kinds of gross categorizations. And then you can get deeper from there. But you should be able to do with your music what Ayn Rand said she could do with Atlas Shrugged. She said you could take any comma, any word choice, anything in that novel, and she could tell you why it was in there. You should be able to do the same thing with your music. What does this part of the song mean? Now, it means something. It came from somewhere in you. It's not random noise. It expresses some intellectual content, something that can be described in conceptual terms. Music is not mystical. It means something. It evokes some feeling. So introspect when you listen to your own music, introspect on your emotions, and identify those emotions. So the first thing to do is get clear on what your music means. Now, after that, you may find it easier to write lyrics. If you'd like to keep up with everything I do, just go to charles2.com. If you'd like to enable me to do more, just go to patreon.com/charles2 and become a supporter. Thanks for listening.